Like It or Not with Benjamin Dixon starts now.
Good morning and welcome to Like It or Not, where we're free to tell the truth and not care who doesn't like it. I am one of your hosts, Benjamin Dixon, joined by none other than my brother, James Bubba Williams, DJ Exclusive. How are you this morning, my brother?
Yo, what's going on? So I'm doing good. How about yourself, man?
I'm doing good. I forgot I have my tea behind me. Hang on, let me grab this tea. Good morning to everyone in the chat room, everyone who's joining us across all the different platforms that we're streaming to, Facebook, YouTube. Very special welcome to all of our new listeners and viewers coming in from Being Liberal, from Americans Get. There's a whole lot of pages that are sharing us and sharing the stream, and we want you to feel free to jump into our community in the chat room. Good morning to everyone who's already a regular listening everywhere that you're listening to. There's a whole lot to cover today with the Senate failing to impeach Donald Trump. We'll be speaking later on with John Nichols of The Nation, and he's going to be discussing this in great detail. Later on in this episode, we'll also be joined by John Iadarola of the Young Turks and the Damage Report. He'll be joining us around the 10 o'clock hour. Rebecca is away today, so we don't have. It's just us. It's just the fellas today. James, how was your Valentine's weekend?
Right.
Did you do anything for Valentine's Day?
Bah humbug. It was cool. I stayed home all day with the blinds closed, with my bottle of wine, and played games and watched movies all day long.
Hey, listen, man. At this stage in this pandemic, I obviously wasn't going to go anywhere, but I just did like a Valentine's breakfast for the wife and for the kids, and so that was my way. The key to my wife's heart is the same key to my children's heart, which is good cooking and good food. So shout out to everyone who celebrated. Rebecca is celebrating somewhere, being Rebecca, so she'll be back on Wednesday. That's all we're gonna say. She's being Rebecca. So good morning to everyone. Right. Leave your comments in the comment section if you did something over the weekend for Valentine's Day. So what we're doing here is a combination of making sure that you have all the news that you need to understand about what's going on in the world, but we're also building community. We're building community and sharing with each other as we get through this pandemic. I'm coming up on 365 days of quarantine. I know most people are, but I started quarantining at the third week of February, a little bit before everyone else. So we're a year into this pandemic, and we may be here for a little bit longer. How are you holding up in all this?
You know, I'm doing pretty good. I had to make sure the mic was on. I'm doing pretty good. I've been out a few times, and once my quarantine started, I was still working. So ours started once we had somebody in our building had their first case, and after that, I'm not going anywhere. I'm home. So, but I'm holding up pretty good now. The first few months were rough as hell, man. Yeah. But everything's good now. It's going good. It's good. Yeah.
Yeah. It's almost like. It's almost like we just had to get completely used to a whole nother way of life, a whole nother way of living. And a part of that living is making sure that we are mindful of our essential workers. So solidarity and love to all the essential workers, every one of you who have to be out in the field, and you don't have the option of choosing when you get to go out, but you have to go out because America still hasn't given you enough for people to actually survive in this pandemic. So we're still waiting on those $2,000 stimulus checks to make sure that people can connect the dots. In the meantime, the Senate has failed to convict Donald Trump. If you were watching over the weekend, you saw the vote. And you saw that 43 Republicans refused to look at the evidence of Donald Trump inciting the insurrection, the treasonous event of January 6th. 43 Republicans, including Mitch McConnell, who went to the floor and made a big speech condemning Donald Trump. He could not bring himself to actually vote against Donald Trump. And without the majority of the Senate, supermajority, in fact, of the Senate voting to convict Donald Trump, he is able to get away with murder. I mean, essentially, if you look at what Donald Trump said at the beginning of his presidency, he said, or at the beginning of his campaign, he said that he could get away with going on Fifth Avenue and shooting someone. And in fact, not only has he presided over, almost 5 100,000 deaths as a result of COVID-19. The president of the United States also led to the direct deaths of 5 individuals who were at that insurrection. And yet and still, Republicans could not bring themselves to convict Donald Trump. On Saturday, Representative Jamie Herrera-Barretla released a statement saying that it was as close. The statement itself was as close to a smoking gun with regards to Trump's incitement of the insurrection as we could get. In her statement, Rep. Barretla said the following, quote, when McCarthy, speaking of House Kevin McCarthy, finally reached out to the president on January 6th and asked him to publicly and forcefully call off the riot, the president initially repeated the falsehood that it was Antifa that had breached the Capitol. McCarthy refuted that and told the president that these were Trump supporters. That's when, according to McCarthy, the president said, well, Kevin, I guess these people are more upset about the election than you are. Despite her comments and willingness to testify, Senate Democrats chose not to forcefully pursue the option of allowing witnesses to testify, choosing instead to read her comments into the record and move on. Now, this caused quite a bit of backlash all across the internet from people who normally are in lockstep with the Democrats. People were upset about this, and rightfully so. They're upset because if nothing else, we understood, James, I think everybody understood that it was highly unlikely that Donald Trump would be convicted because we needed a supermajority of the Senate, which meant about 17 Republicans needed to vote to convict Donald Trump. I think everybody understood that we were not going to get a conviction because of the nature of the Republican Party, but we wanted the due diligence. Right. We wanted people to be able to see and hear this evidence for themselves. And this is not for a show. Right. This is because the American people needed to feel the visceral reaction of witnesses who were there, of people who had their lives at risk. And I understand the difference here. I understand that all these testimonies are going to be entered into the permanent record, right? So in the future generations will be able to look and decide for themselves the guilt of Donald Trump. But we're not in the future yet, right? We're here. We're right now. And Donald Trump has taken this as a signal, along with many Republicans, they have taken this as a signal that everything is fine with what they tried to do. Let me repeat that, because I think it's important that we understand what we're dealing with. We're not just dealing with an intransigent Republican Party that refuses to hold themselves accountable. We're dealing with the conservative movement in this country that 100% looks at this the proceedings as a victory for Donald Trump. In fact, after the Senate failed to convict him, Teflon Don started trending on Twitter because of the sentiment that there's nothing that can stick to Donald Trump. I would offer that when you're covered in slime, it is impossible for anything to stick. But that does not negate the fact that the American people wanted accountability. And quite a few of us are enraged with the fact that Republicans, of course, we understood Republicans weren't going to do their job, but we're upset because the Democrats were not doing their job. And instead, the Senate has gone on a vacation. Now, folks, obviously, there's so much more to this story that we're going to be discussing with John Nichols as he comes on. But I think, James, I think the American people are tired. Right. I think the American people are tired both of the foolishness that comes from Washington, D.C., but also the lack of accountability. It's almost as if there's not a single politician in this country who could be held accountable for anything, especially when we're not just talking about bad tweets. We're not just talking about inappropriate behavior or inappropriate language. We're talking about Donald Trump inciting a treasonous insurrection that took the lives of 5 individuals and literally challenged America because he lost. I think the average American is a little tired of this by now. What do you think?
That might help. There we go. Yeah, most definitely that side of it.
I thought maybe my internet went down. Well, go ahead. There's no accountability. Exactly.
There's no accountability, and we're honestly getting sick of it. But I'm gonna be straight up honest with you. it's one of those things of we wanted to see that accountability and we wanted to see something happen, but we already knew that nothing was going to happen. We knew that the Republicans weren't going to vote for this conviction, and we knew everything would be overturned. As simple as that. So, at the end of the day, when the announcement came down that he was acquitted, we are already expecting it.
Right. And I think the thing is that most of us expected it, but we expected due diligence also. And then I also expected Mitch McConnell to be Mitch McConnell. But when he went to the floor, and we have video of him going to the floor, he gave a forceful condemnation of Donald Trump. And he did this. I want you to keep in mind, people are worried about their legacies, right? People are concerned about their future legacy. This is why you had a couple of Republicans who voted against Donald Trump. Nevertheless, they supported Donald Trump the entire time he was there. So I don't look at a single Republican who voted against Donald Trump as a hero, but at least they had enough backbone to do that much. But Mitch McConnell went to the floor. Mitch McConnell went to the floor after voting in favor of Donald Trump, and he had a whole lot to say. I want to take a look at this clip. Take a listen in.
They built a gallows and chanted about January 6th was a disgrace. American citizens attacked their own government. They used terrorism to try to stop a specific piece of domestic business they did not like. Fellow Americans beat and bloodied our own police. They stormed the Senate floor. They tried to hunt down the Speaker of the House. They built a gallows and chanted about murdering the Vice President. They did this because they'd been fed wild falsehoods by the most powerful man on earth. Because he was angry he'd lost an election. Former President Trump's actions preceded the riot were a disgraceful dereliction of duty. The House accused the former president of, quote, incitement. That is a specific term from the criminal law. Let me just put that aside for a moment and reiterate something I said weeks ago. There's no question, none, that President Trump is practically and morally responsible for provoking the events of the day. No question about it. The people who stormed this building believed they were acting on the wishes and instructions of their president.
Now, listen, all of that is accurate. But Mitch McConnell voted to not convict Donald Trump. And so his words are empty, right? They mean nothing. They are completely devoid of any substance. Mitch McConnell is trying to position himself for American history so that he could be recorded on the record stating that he believed Donald Trump was responsible, yet he could not bring himself to vote against Donald Trump. And this is the interesting thing about it. Now, this empowers Donald Trump even more to continue dominating the Republican Party. So the politics of this is really kind of dangerous. There's a dangerous game that Mitch McConnell and Republicans are playing right now. There was a Zoom call last week with a lot of Republican officials, past and present, trying to determine, it was a call with Evan McMullin. He ran for president in 2016 as an independent, but he is a Republican operative. And the Zoom call was centered on whether or not the Republican Party should break away from Donald Trump and move into being a center-right party. They decided not to do that. And the reason they decided not to do that was because they felt that it was more politically viable for them to continue trying to appeal to Trumpers, to Trumpists, make America great again. And they would rather have risked what they were doing, the entirety of this country, matter of fact, not just the Republican Party. The Republicans decided that they decided that they would rather take their chances with the treasonous insurrectionists that marched up the steps of the Capitol on January 6th than they would to actually oppose Donald Trump. So the politics of this is very, very dangerous, but they're playing this game. And now Donald Trump is in a position to dominate the Republican Party in perpetuity, right? For the rest of his life, right? Donald Trump is now in a position to not only launch a media company, he's in a position to launch his own social media company, but he's also in position to run for office again in 2024. I think the game that Mitch McConnell and the Republicans are playing is going to be one that's going to destroy them in the long run, but just so that they could cover their butts. Lindsey Graham went on Fox News as usual. And in this clip, he's trying his best to shift the blame, to shift the concern and shift the fears of what happened on January 6th. And as he did last week, he tried to blame it on Nancy Pelosi. And yesterday, he took a stab at blaming this on Vice President Kamala Harris. Let's take a listen in to Lindsey Graham.
The trial record was a complete joke, hearsay upon hearsay, and we've opened Pandora's box to future presidents. And if you use this model, I don't know how Kamala Harris doesn't get impeached if the Republicans take over the House, because she actually bailed out rioters, and one of the rioters went back to the streets and broke somebody's head open. So we've opened Pandora's box here, and I'm sad for the country.
Does Donald Trump...
Listen, let's be sure about something, James, and I want you to get in here too. Like, let's be sure Republicans will absolutely impeach anyone they get an opportunity to as soon as they get an opportunity to. There's no question about whether or not Republicans will try to impeach Vice President Kamala Harris or even Joe Biden. They're absolutely going to do it. If you consider what they impeach Bill Clinton for versus what they refuse to convict Donald Trump over. Right? They impeach Bill Clinton over lying about his sexual proclivities inside the White House. Right. And it was a big deal all over the news. I remember I was, relatively young. Well, I'm not going to give you my entire age, but seriously, they made a big deal over Bill Clinton lying about his sexual activities in the White House. But they seem to not care whatsoever that Donald Trump literally tried to overthrow our government. And the reason they don't care is because it's in their political best interest not to care. They play absolute politics. James, I'm just like if we really reduce this down to the bare essentials, what we're dealing with are a group of people who are more than happy to burn this country to the ground for the sake of their power, with no regard whatsoever to the damage that it causes, because they're willing to. It's like a game of chicken. It's like a game of chicken. The Republicans have been driving a Mack truck towards America since they've been in power, and they've shown that they have no intention whatsoever of slowing down, none whatsoever. So to me, when you're dealing with terrorists, ideological terrorists like the Republican Party and like the conservative movement in this country, we can't negotiate with terrorists. We can't try to triangulate with these people. We can't try bipartisanship with them when they've shown that they're more than willing to destroy this country for the sake of not losing an election. How can Joe Biden, how can any Democrat at this point, we couldn't even get 10. We cannot get 10 Republicans to break the filibuster threshold, right? So now we're in a situation where not only are Republicans willing to burn this country to the ground, but there's so many radically extreme Republicans who are willing to burn this country to the ground that we can't even get past the filibuster. So that tells me that Democrats need to absolutely just slam everything that we need done through with no regard whatsoever to the concerns or the feelings or the backlash from Republicans, because we see the backlash will go all the way to treason. What do you do, James? Just a general question in life. And what do you do when you're dealing with people who would destroy everything and expect you? It's gaslighting. I mean, the best way to understand it is relationships. But what do you think?
Right. Agreed, Ben. It's just like in this situation like this, is just like, man, just cut y'all off. And like you said, Democrats just need to really go ahead and put everything out there, because we see the Republicans don't care. It's all about money, and it's a game. and to me, I always think about this. Like, you claim that you're doing everything for the people, but you're doing this for your own benefits, your own gain. What people have you gone out there to talk to about this? Because I really, you ain't come to talk to me. I made my decision when I got out there and voted early, but nobody's come and knock on my door, come to talk to me. I haven't seen any politicians come out here and come in my neighborhood trying to canvass anything. I've been out here for 2 years. So it's just like, y'all are doing this just for the cushion your pockets and basically run this country how you want to. Bump the people.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's do this. In a few minutes, when we come back, we're going to be speaking with John Nichols about this impeachment from The Nation. He has a great article on it and has had a lot of amazing commentary on it. And we'll discuss that in greater detail after we take this break. Also, if I'm not mistaken, we have our community in the VIP room, right? So, James, what we're going to do is we're going to go to break, take everybody to break. Let's play some music. And when we come back, I want to see our VIP room. And I want to bring up John Nichols to discuss this a little bit further. We'll be back with more Like It or Not after this.
Yes, sir. Good morning, everybody. I hope that you are enjoying Like It or Not. Make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe so you always know when we are going down, y'all.
Yeah, talking to my mirror like I love you so much. Curving on my critics like I heard you, so what? You can
shout out to everybody that's in the chat room.
I'm the man. Tally all the I ever gave on my head.
They want to get they want to give a quick shout out to Ben real quick.
That's what made me a boss. You can't kill my confidence. I think I'm the man. We don't give a that's what they don't understand. Back again like flu season. I broke records while
Purple Rain Hearts, what's going on? Good morning, everybody. Good morning, mama. I see you in the chat room, y'all. Shout out to everybody. Shout out to everybody in my VIP room. I see y'all. Neville, I appreciate the love.
Disgusting. I hear them bragging about that they did and it do not move me, not in the least. They ain't been dropping no seeds in the soil, but swear that you almost spotted the feast. I've been on go mode, show mode, showboat, rowboat, wave ride, cool shorty, too naughty, pool party, wet for the face ride.
Nick, what's going on? Good morning.
Trip. New money, too funny. Oh, shorty, talk about I'm on they now. Can't get a pass now. I'm a cash cow, keeping it brash now. Trash now, I'ma spaz out. I've been killing my lows and living on highs. You see in the sky's the proof. You can just see in my eyes that there is no lies. I cannot disguise the truth. I've been duck dog getting to my new merch, color duck sauce on the new couch with my Chucks on. Get the on with that.
Afraid not.
Get cool on the small
Tony H, what's going on?
Got a Hawkeye on the
Ghetto, what's going on? Have a good day at work, y'all.
Into my mirror like I love you so much. Curving on my critics like I heard you, so what?
We hope that y'all had a good weekend. I know I certainly did. I did absolutely nothing and it felt wonderful. Dragon Mother Hearts, good morning. Shout out to everybody that's joining this morning. That's brand new. Welcome. This is Like It or Not, y'all. I am your DJ and co-host, James Bubba Williams, better known as DJ Exclusive. And they love to have us a good time every time, y'all. Shout out Kimberly Fraser, good morning. Hey, anybody out there that's driving, y'all please be careful, man. The roads are really, really crazy. So y'all please be careful.
With you I found my peace somehow. Let go of every thought that was holding me back. Yeah, I'm in love with you in every way. The joy you give me every day makes me forget that I was troubled before. Don't know if I'm dreaming, I'm slipping away. I hear your sweet voice, then I see your face. I never knew you could love someone like me.
Make sure y'all are hitting that like button, hit that like button, hit that like. Bubba Rail 88, what's going on? Aurora, good morning.
Good morning. All right. While we before I bring John Nichols to the screen, there's a second part to this story that I want to discuss, which is the honors that Congress gave to Eugene Goodman, the Congressional Gold Medal, and the fact that it was a unanimous decision to honor him for saving so many people. But some of the same Republicans who chose to honor him refused to hold Donald Trump accountable for the very actions that required Eugene Goodman to put his life on the line. There was one thing everyone could agree on, was that he was a hero, but they could not agree on the fact that the reason he had to become a hero, Donald Trump, needed to be held accountable. But let's take a look at this moment. I think it was a powerful moment of Eugene Goodman and the Congressional Gold Medal.
In a moment, I will ask the Senate to pass legislation that would award Capitol Police Officer Eugene Goodman the Congressional Gold Medal. In the weeks after the attack on January the 6th, the world learned about the incredible bravery of Officer Goodman on that fateful day. Here in this trial, we saw a new video, powerful video, showing calmness under pressure, his courage in the line of duty, his foresight in the midst of chaos, and his willingness to make himself a target of the mob's rage so that others might reach safety. Officer Goodman is in the chamber tonight. Officer Goodman, thank you.
Republican
Leader McConnell?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. I just want to say, I think we can all agree that Eugene Goodman deserves the highest honor Congress can bestow. But before we move to pass this legislation, I want to be clear that he was not alone that day. The nation saw and has now seen numerous examples of the heroic conduct of the Capitol Police, the Metropolitan Police, the SWAT teams that were with us on January 6th here in the Capitol protecting us. Our heartfelt gratitude extends to each.
So there you have it. I mean, it is clear. It is clear that Eugene Goodman is a hero. And it is clear that the United States owes him a debt of gratitude. But what is ridiculous is the fact that we can unanimously agree that he rose to the occasion, but it is absurd that Republicans could not hold the man who's responsible for the very situation for which Eugene Goodman had to rise to the occasion. They could not hold Donald Trump accountable. So it's all a dog and pony show, in my best estimation. And it's all just one big kabuki theater, a game. And we have to understand it as such. Joining me now is John Nichols. He writes about politics for The Nation as its national affairs correspondent. He is a contributing writer to the Progressive and In These Times, and the associate editor of the Capital Times, the daily newspaper in Madison, Wisconsin. John is also the author of many books, including his latest from March 2020, The Fight for the Soul of the Democratic Party, the Enduring Legacy of Henry Wallace's Anti-Fascist, Anti-Racist Politics. John, thank you so much for joining me.
Ben, it is an honor to be with you.
It's always a pleasure. There's a lot to cover, but I've been reading your articles over the weekend and your tweets with regard to this situation. Tell me, what is your first reaction to the 43 Republicans who could not bring themselves to convict Donald Trump?
They betrayed their oaths of office. They swore an oath to protect and defend the Constitution and to bear true faith to that commitment. They didn't do it. Look, they put partisanship ahead of the basic premises of the American experiment. And the basic premise is that We have elections. Those elections define our leaders. We have a peaceful transition of power. Donald Trump sought to avert that. Members of his own party said, that's fine. And no matter what Mitch McConnell says, no matter what any of these other people may try to say to explain it away or to apologize for themselves, their vote is all that matters. And I'll give you one final note here, just that I think is important. This isn't just about Trump. And this isn't even just about the 43 senators. This is about the fact that elites in this country with immense political and economic power have been told that they can operate with impunity, that they can do as they choose, because even at the highest level, where there should be the deepest responsibility, there will be those who block accountability. That's what happened in the Senate on Saturday.
You wrote in your piece the following. You said, by abandoning the calling of witnesses, Democrats and Republicans abandoned their responsibility to use every tool that was available to them to check and balance the imperial presidency. In the immediate trial of Donald Trump for incitement of insurrection and in the broader battle to renew the role of the Congress as a preeminent branch in a system of shared powers. There's a couple of key phrases in there that I think we should dig into, because this does not bode well for the future. I think one of the things we can all agree on is that if we survived Donald Trump, it's only because he was quite the bit feckless, but he has stress tested America and actually given a more efficient fascistic dictator the model of how they can use the imperial presidency to dominate Congress in a system that requires equal power in terms of checks and balances. Would you speak to that looming threat that is real as a result of not holding Donald Trump accountable?
You spoke to that very well yourself, my friend. That is exactly where the crisis is. And that is exactly why impeachment matters. Impeachment was developed by imperfect men more than better part of 250 years ago. Look, the founding of this country was flawed in so many ways. But the interesting thing about those flawed men was that they did recognize that there would be situations in the future where dangerous people would come to power, and those dangerous people would seek to perpetuate their power by interrupting the election process, peaceful transfer of power, et cetera. And they would thus lock themselves in politically, becoming not presidents, but for all intents and purposes, monarchs. That was what was feared. That's what Donald Trump tried to do. Donald Trump is a buffoon. Donald Trump is a showman, a reality TV star who bumbled into the presidency because the Republican Party's leadership is so unappealing and so unpopular that he could push them aside and become their candidate. And also because he amplified many of what were previously their subtle appeals to racism, xenophobia, hatred. And so Donald Trump got there. He got into this position and he tried to hang on to it. He was narrowly prevented from doing it. This wasn't a big, big success for our system. It was a narrow aversion of crisis. And not holding him to account says to the next person down the line, hey, if you do this a little more gracefully, if you do this a little more carefully, you might get away with it. This isn't going to stop what we saw with Donald Trump. It's going to encourage others to think about how they might do it better. And I will tell you that there are people in the room who voted not to convict Donald Trump who are thinking they might be the next president of the United States. People like Josh Hawley, who's already running, there's no doubt of that. People like Ted Cruz, who's already running, there's no doubt of that. And it's important to understand that these people are as guilty as Donald Trump of high crimes and misdemeanors against the republic.
Absolutely. I want to read directly from a quote you said of Ben Sass, Republican from Nebraska. In one of your articles, you said conservatives regularly denounce the executive overreach, but we ought primarily to denounce legislative impotence. If Congress cannot forcefully respond to an intimidation attack on Article 1 instigated by the head of Article 2, our constitutional balance will be permanently tilted. A weak and timid Congress will increasingly submit to an emboldened and empowered presidency. That's unacceptable. This institution needs to respect itself enough to tell the executive that some lines cannot be crossed So here's my first question in that regard. Why then? Why is there anything here politically feasible for the current Republican Party? Let's set aside the ambition of Ted Cruz and Tom Cotton. They want to run for president, but by not holding Donald Trump accountable, they have left the Republican Party vulnerable to Donald Trump. So how do they think that they're going to be able to balance the madness of Donald Trump with their own political ambitions as a party?
And that is a really critical question. You went right to the heart of the matter there, because Donald Trump may be our best protection against these other players. And Trump, as we've said, is buffoonish. He is easily identified as the crisis in waiting that he is. And I think Jamie Raskin, by the way, did that incredibly well in some of his closing statements. But these other more capable players, these other more strategic figures have to get around Donald Trump to get to the leadership of the party. And I will suggest to you that Donald Trump is incapable of letting go of power. And so that was the reason why impeachment, trial, conviction were necessary, because those could lead to a decision based on the Constitution that he cannot seek office in the future. Because that didn't happen, I'm quite sure he will. I'd be rather shocked if he doesn't try to come back in 2024. And so then the fight will not be between a Josh Hawley and a Donald Trump. It will be between some figure in the Republican Party who wants to stand up to him and Trump himself. That sets up a hell of a fight. And as a political writer, I'm thrilled to cover it. But it, as Sass suggests, it doesn't get to the heart of the matter. And the heart of the matter is that we have an imperial presidency in the United States. If you've got a great person in there, it can be used well. If you've got a bad player in there, it can be used in incredibly destructive ways. And I want to emphasize that it can be used to promote racism, xenophobia, hatred, division for political purposes. And that is really the essence of fascism.
Right. And that's what's so disheartening in this moment is the fact that we see the problem. Right. And if you would speak to this, we know exactly how America will be overthrown from within by an imperial presidency when you have complacent and complicit Republicans or of either party. Right. The structure that we have now, I often put it in context of COVID-19. Can any of us imagine if COVID-19 had struck in the first year of Donald Trump's presidency? By now, we would probably be close to 2 million deaths because of that type of presidency and unchecked power and our inability to hold them accountable in real time. So my question for you is, what does this country need to do to protect itself from an imperial presidency when Congress is either unwilling or unable to hold them accountable?
Look, the fact of the matter is we need constitutional reform. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that because that's a tall hill to climb, and I don't want to be unrealistic. I'll talk about a couple other elements here as well. But constitutional reform is necessary. We need to understand the insanity of the Electoral College and also the insanity of having a Senate where a small number of members can block accountability for someone like Donald Trump. It's important to recognize that of the 43 senators who voted not to hold Donald Trump to account represent 38% of the American people, 38% of our population. The 57 senators who voted to hold him to account represent, I'm sorry, I gotta make sure I got it right. They represent 38% of the population. The others represent 62% of the population. So we have 62% of America's representatives voted to hold Trump to account, voted to deal with this issue. They were blocked by 38%. And this happens again and again and again in the United States Senate. We have to really think about the reality of the Senate. And that's something that most people don't talk about, but it's the heart of the crisis. Then let us talk about something else that's much quicker. We can begin to address some of this dysfunction by having Democrats, I'm not talking about Republicans here, I'm having Democrats act in a responsible way as regards expanding democracy in this country. There are pieces of legislation they can pass, but there's something big they can do. And that is go to the mat to make the District of Columbia a state. DC statehood is central to moving forward. It doesn't just add 2 senators and an elected member of Congress. It puts the basic premises of democracy forward in the way that they should be. And we should also recognize that Delegate Stacey Plaskett, who was such a brilliant part of the impeachment team there, she can't vote for president.
Right.
She's from the Virgin Islands. They don't allow the people in the Virgin Islands to participate in presidential elections. They don't allow them to send voting representatives to Congress. Whether we're talking about statehood for the Virgin Islands or some other model that provides representation, there's got to be representation. We've got roughly 8 million people in America who are U.S. citizens but can't vote for president. That's absurd. They also can't have representation in the House and Senate. So we have a basic democracy problem, and that's something that Democrats ought to be focused on.
I mean, it's the most essential democratic problem as Americans is taxation without representation. But I digress. I want to ask you this question. What advice would you give to Joe Biden, his administration, Democrats in general, liberals, progressives? What would you say to the opposition to the Republican Party in general in terms of how we proceed, specifically in terms of this bipartisanship fetish, for lack of a better word, that so many Democrats have? What would you tell them when we see how far Republicans are willing to go in order to maintain power?
Ben, how old are you?
Oh, no, I'm 40.
You're 40 years old.
I feel older every day.
I know, but you're young. And bipartisanship, before you were born, it had meaning. It did. The fact of the matter is the Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act, those were passed with very significant Republican support. In the 1960s, even into the early 1970s, Republicans were in the forefront often of supporting environmental protection. There were Republicans who had, 100% or very nearly 100% AFL-CIO pro-labor records. And so Republicans and Democrats competed with one another to be right about things. In that case, bipartisanship can be great. You can really build a coalition. You can cut out the Southern segregationists and bring in the New York Republicans, right? And build a coalition there with liberal Democrats that actually works. But that's ancient history. The fact of the matter is, in the modern era, bipartisanship has become the watchword for not getting important things done. And this is really the vital thing to understand. Barack Obama, who was a good man with good intentions, sought to have a bipartisan presidency. He wasted months, even years, trying to get a few Republicans to come across and work with him. It didn't work. And I don't put that on Obama. You got to have a president who tries, right? And I respect that he made the effort. But the fact of the matter is, we got proof out of that presidency. Joe Biden isn't going to get any more favors than Barack Obama got. And so what Biden and the Democrats have to recognize is, or they basically have to learn from experience. And that lesson ought to teach them that in this case, it is totally appropriate to pass a COVID bill with 51 votes, 50 Democrats and Kamala Harris. It is perfectly appropriate to move on DC statehood in the way that has been proposed and other models, to do everything you can to make the changes that are necessary. And I'll say one final thing, Ben, if I can, and that is, look, I'm a true believer in impeachment. I love impeachment. I think it's a wonderful tool of accountability. But the fact of the matter is, it's had the teeth taken out of it by partisanship. And one of the things that I, to be honest, I wish they had impeached Trump for COVID, for his handling of COVID. I wish they'd put that issue on the table and said, you got 500,000 people dead or almost. That's what you need to be held to account for. And why I bring that up is to say that I think Democrats have to take the real issues of hurt in America, the real pain of people, this pandemic, mass unemployment, all the other challenges that people are facing, and they need to put them front and center. They need to hold Trump and his allies to account, and anybody going forward to account for letting people die, right? And so take it beyond just the baseline constitutional questions, which I totally respect, and go to that deeper question of, are there people in power who will let you die for reasons of politics? That's the kind of discussion, that's the kind of politics we have to put forward.
That's a That's the real question, and that's the real painful question when we dig underneath that and ask ourselves, how is it that 500,000 people can die in this country and no one is held accountable for it? I think it speaks to a much deeper problem here in the United States. But maybe we'll have that conversation on another day. John Nichols of The Nation, your most recent book is a great one, The Fight for the Soul of the Democratic Party. The enduring legacy of Henry Wallace's anti-fascist, anti-racist politics. Thank you so much for joining us.
I'm really honored to be with you. Thanks for having me.
The pleasure's ours. When we come back, we'll discuss these things a little bit further. James, this is the place in the conversation where I have to let it go, because when I consider 500,000 people dead from COVID-19, that's what we should impeach that man over. Every single one of those lives deserves an impeachment. So take us out of here. I'm going to go. Listen, everybody, go re-up on your coffee and your tea. When we come back, we have a lot more to go. John Iadarola of The Damage Report will be joining us in about half an hour, and we have a lot more stories. Leave some comments in the comment section. Like, share, and subscribe, and we'll be back right after this.
Yes, sir. Like it or not. Shout out to John Nichols again for joining us. We appreciate you so much, sir, and thank you for joining. Make sure that you're liking, subscribe, commenting down here in this chat as well, too. And shout out to everybody that's joining us as well. And shout out to everybody in the VIP room. I see you. I see you. I see you. Good morning, everyone. Good morning.
Come and see what you've been missing on a little slice of heaven. It's the only place we're living. It's the West Coast point of view.
Mara, good morning. Paul, good morning.
It's been turning kinda gray in Southern California, but I'm allergic to the rain.
Nicole, Andrea, good morning.
Euphoria. Don't worry about it. Don't
Andrea, did I get you good morning?
I'm too excited. Dark liquor with the palm trees. It's all or nothing. Ooh, it's all or nothing. No other signs. It's all.
Lisa, amen. You know, dealing with so much of this stuff, you do need this music, lady. I feel you. That's why we here.
Slice of heaven. It's the only place we're living. It's that West Coast point of view. Easy when it's always summertime.
Melody, yes. I was about to say that. Give me all Prince feelings right now.
Who cares what the people think? 'Cause it's that West Coast point of view. Easy when it's always summertime. You and I, every act to do.
Brenda Johnson, you are right. Ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are, hit that like button, share, comment, subscribe. Hit that like button most definitely, though. And make sure that you know when Like It or Not is always going live, y'all.
Go and try your luck. Test me in again, we let it rain. Please don't start us up. Got that black and white, that yin and yang. Mr. Officer, please don't search us, we don't got a thing. Tell her park it up. Then that be poking out them jeans. I've been sparking up. Like the fireworks, I keep the flame. Heard you barking up. It's the wrong tree, I got the strings. Yeah, I'm charging up. They can keep up, got them looking drained. Now they walking up. Trying to put the face.
Okay, cool.
Pull up and and I'm swerving. If
Nabil, I appreciate the love. Shout out to everybody in the VIP room.
We been staying.
I see y'all bopping over there. What's up, y'all? Andy!
Yeah, these all square like Irvin. Yeah, we grew up in the hood, no Suburbans. If I say I need my money, then it's urgent. Yeah, they want me to quit. Yeah, they want me to shift. But as long as I'm alive, we gon' keep on making hits. While they steady shooting bricks, man, it's lit. Yeah, it's lit.
Shout out to everybody that's in the VIP room. I love y'all and thank y'all again for checking us out this morning. Jake!
Always gonna be reaching for they hit, smoking like a clip. They can never catch me slipping.
That was
Every
actually
time
dope.
the girl around, she be watch the way I'm dripping. Try your luck, test me in again. We let it rain. Please don't start us up. Got that black and white, that yin and yang. Mr. Officer,
not low, so I appreciate that.
Tell her park it up. Then that be poking out them jeans. I've been sparking up like the fireworks. I keep the flame. Heard you barking up. It's the wrong tree. I got the strength. Yeah, I'm charging up. They can't keep up. Got them looking drained. Now they walking up, trying to put the face to the name. I'm in flex mode with the best, though. That's a major key, that's a chess move. I'm your favorite G, I think it's best, yo. Stop with all the grilling, I'm a jet fuel.
Tony H, I got you, son.
Now they cannot clip my wings. Yeah, they
You know what? I think I do have something for you.
Play it smart, they don't know me, they just know what they see. What it costs.
JH, we appreciate that super chat, y'all.
This that swag, this that splash. One wrong move, that's do the dash, keep a stash, just in case they tryna flash. Never lie, we don't slack, tell her eyes running back. I don't
Kids New Experiments, I appreciate that. Wait a minute, I had another one that I
really
missed.
just a fan.
Mike, I appreciate that. We love you too.
And all that chatting, not at all. Yeah, put that on the squad. We been not going hard. We on.
Hey Nick, yes they do. They got free drinks and everything in VIP. So you need to come check it out like ASAP.
Please don't search us, we don't got a thing. Tell her park it up, then that be poking out them jeans. I've been sparking up like the fireworks. I keep the flame. Heard you barking up. It's the wrong tree. I got the strength. Yeah, I'm charging up. They can't keep up. Got them looking drained. Now they walking up.
Maybe want to do that. Whatever that dance is from TikTok.
How you gon' lie when you look me in my eyes and you show me your facade? Show me your facade. How you gon' lie when you look me in my eyes and you show me your facade? Show me your facade. You a lie.
Welcome back.
You a front. You say
yes,
welcome back to
you
Like It or Not, James.
Play me like a fool.
Hey man.
Yes, sir.
The music is therapy for me, man. Like it really is. It really is. And it's therapy for the audience. Like we're going through, and shout out to everybody in the VIP room. Like what we've been doing over the summer and through the winter, we've been doing our patron parties, people who support the show, patreon.com/the BPD show. We throw regular parties and we want to include you in the show. And so to all of our Twitch subscribers, as well as our patrons, if you want to join the VIP room, those links are available on patreon.com as well as on Twitch. We would have sent out an email to you. But we do this because, you know, there's a lot of bad news, and we want to make sure that as people get ready for their day, that they understand what's happening in the world, but also that we're not, you know, we're not breaking them as we're breaking the bad news to them. That said, here's a video. Now I'm gonna be honest with you. I want to play this video because there's a high likelihood that I would personally do this with my son. Because my son loves to dance as much as I love to dance. And this is just this is therapeutic. This is a great clip from TikTok. And it has over 1 million likes, not views, likes in just 2 days. So let's put up some joy real quick. Let's take a look at this.
I like them hard. Cocoa. I like them chocolate. Cocoa puffs.
Windshield wiper, smell.
Go to the flow and move. Then you beat his ass.
Uppercut.
I say, Jason, Misha, Dunn, Cam. I like them hard. Cocoa. I like them chocolate.
It's on repeat. I'm sorry. I really just want to, because stay tuned. Stay tuned, because my version of that is going to come out. Me and Benjamin, my little boy. And if you give me enough time, I'm gonna put Jeremiah in that too. We're gonna do it. Listen, I want to see how you all are surviving the pandemic. Leave me a comment in the comment section. Or you could send us a video of how you're surviving the pandemic. And you can send us a video by going to download an app called Voices by Action Sprout. If you go download that app in the App Store, and we'll give you our code, you can join our community. But that gives you the ability to send us videos of how you're surviving the pandemic, because this is not just about news. This is about the community, everyone who's in the comment section. Matter of fact, before we go any further, I want everybody to say hello to somebody else in the comment section, because you never know, James. A lot of people are going through this pandemic by themselves, and this time that we have together is important to them. What do you think?
Yeah, you're right, man. It's just like doing this music thing, and so many people are going through a lot. You never know what speaking to someone may do to brighten their day up. And just like, that's why I love looking at the comments, reading them, because y'all are hilarious as hell. These comments, but I love it.
And they're ruthless. They're ruthless. See, this is the difference
they're
between
ruthless, man.
Oh my God. The difference between independent media and mainstream media is that we have to deal with y'all comments in real time. Okay. We have to be held accountable to the audience in real time. So if I say something wrong on air, I don't get to the next day to make a correction, because my comment section is full of people saying, you got that one wrong, Ben. You mispronounced that name, Ben. You know, it's kind of but I think it makes for a better experience. I think it makes for a better community. And I actually think it makes for better media, because I think people with platforms should be held accountable to the people who helped create that platform. You know what I mean? So that said, go to your app store, whether you are on Google or you're on Apple. I don't know why anybody has an Android. Oh man, I just got in trouble. But be careful. The app is available for Android and Apple. Voices by Action Sprout. Look up Voices by Action Sprout, and you can download it. You would join our community, and you can send us videos. You can send us pictures, and we can send you notifications of what's going on with Like It or Not. That said, James, let's get to some more news. Oh,
yes, and be it known real quick. Yeah, once you send those videos and those pictures, just be it known that there will be a high possibility they're going to be shown on the show. So be it known, anything that you send, it may be shown. Now,
especially if you're trolling us. Especially if you're trolling us. We're going to put you up on the entire community for everybody to see what we deal with. So all because from time to time, James, I get so much hate mail and death threats and just like racist stuff. So now if you guys send us that stuff and you're bad enough to send it via video, okay, we're going to mute out everything that you say meaningful and hateful, but we're going to make sure we anyway. But I think on the brighter side of it, I think it gives us an opportunity to let the audience be a part of the show in a way that most shows can't do. So Voices by Action Sprout, go download that app. We will give you our code. And you could join our community. And in that community, you could send us videos. And yes, James, thank you for giving that disclaimer. Whatever you send to us, there's a likelihood that we will be able to put it on the screen. But that's the point. What I want to hear from the people is how they are surviving the pandemic. Right? Whether you're an essential worker who doesn't have the luxury of staying at home like the rest of us do, or maybe you are working from home, but you're working from home by yourself, right? Because you're quarantining and you're taking this seriously. This broader community, that's what we're building so that we can make it through the rest of this pandemic together. Now, that said, while the Democrats were unable to get a conviction, there's reason to be hopeful. Trump still might actually face some actual justice. The district attorney right here in Fulton County, Georgia, Fani Willis, is a Democrat who is only in her second month in office. She has opened up a criminal investigation of Donald Trump for attempting to influence the administration of the 2020 Georgia general election. I think it's worth mentioning that DA Williams is the first woman DA in Fulton County, and her father was an activist, lawyer, and a Black Panther. The investigation centers around the infamous phone call from January 2nd, in which Donald Trump pleads with Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger to find, quote unquote, find the votes he needed to win Georgia. In an interview with the New York Times, District Attorney Williams explained that, quote, an investigation is like an onion. You never know. You pull something back and then you find something else. Anything that is relevant to attempts to interfere with the Georgia election will be subject to review. Now, according to an official with direct knowledge of the situation, Lindsey Graham, our friend Lindsey Graham, also called the Secretary of State 3 days later after the election and will also be scrutinized as a part of the investigation. I'd like to say that Lindsey Graham is under investigation as well. Legal opinions vary on the merits of the case, but some experts believe Trump will be charged and could be convicted. Now, you got to love the possibility that after a bunch of old white men voted to acquit Trump for inciting an insurrection at the Capitol, it's going to be a black woman from the state of Georgia doing the investigation, doing the prosecution, and possibly the conviction for election fraud in Georgia. That would be poetic justice. But the real question is, do we expect Donald Trump to spend any time in jail? And, you know, James, I'm not getting my hopes up. What do you think?
Honestly, me neither. I really hope that Fanny, she does well, but I really don't think any jail time will come to it. You know how it always happens. She's going to do good. Everything's going to go great. But something's going to happen where Kemp or the Secretary of State or whatever his name is, Brian Roethlisberger, somebody's going to say something, and it's just going to he's not going to do any time.
You saw how I just breezed past the name Roethlisberger because you know I can't pronounce it. Every time I hear his name, I think about Ben Roethlisberger. I think about the quarterback, Roethlisberger, but I can't pronounce his name either. But I agree with you. I think that Attorney she's going to do due diligence, and in a system where, to be quite honest with you, Black people are accustomed to not getting justice. Yeah. I hate to set the bar so low, but America, we didn't set it so low. America has set this bar so low.
Yep.
And this is why I think a lot of people are rightfully upset. The fact that the Democrats and the Republicans in the Senate did not go through the due diligence of allowing the American people to experience the testimony from the witnesses. To the American people, that would have been as much as we could have expected, because no one was under the illusion that Donald Trump was going to be convicted by Republicans who have shown that they're more willing to burn this country down than to ever hold themselves accountable. But it's the due diligence part that I think is critical. And I do believe, James, like you said, that she is going to do a thorough job and a thorough investigation. But the way our country is set up, when's the last time you met a rich, white, conservative man that was held accountable for their crimes in this country? I mean, I'm thinking back to Enron might be the one of the only times I could think of somebody that powerful actually being held accountable. So I'm not holding my breath for Donald Trump to be convicted, but I am grateful that at least here in the state of Georgia, he's going to be investigated. What do you think, man?
Mm-hmm. I definitely agree. You know, at least we see that she's making the steps and the moves to, because anybody else wouldn't have done it. So I think I did hear that there's another investigation, maybe Pennsylvania. Someone else is doing a couple of other investigations, but you know how Georgia is. We are going to drive it home. And Fannie gives me that she doesn't back down easily. So let's bring it. Right. Bring all of it.
Right. And then not to, you mentioned Pennsylvania, but also New York. New York is potentially going to go into a thorough investigation. And so if we can't get justice on the federal level, I mean, think of the irony of it, right? If we think historically, it is quite the bit of irony that justice may come from the state level versus the federal level, because as Black people in this country, we have oftentimes and most of the times have had to appeal to the federal level for justice, because justice was withheld from Black people on the state level. And now Black people on the state level are going to be the ones holding Donald Trump, at least attempting to hold Donald Trump accountable, when it is the federal level that has failed America. It's fascinating how the pendulum swings, and it speaks to the importance of state level elections, right? I think a lot of times we limit our political participation to every 4 years. And I think that's been one of the most critical failings of the Democratic Party is limiting our political energy and organizing and excitement and to being centered around a federal election that only comes around every 4 years versus all of the state level elections that we could and absolutely need, right? We've seen over the last 8 to 12 years, we've seen Democrats lose over 1,000 seats. Now, the tide is slowly turning. There's some critical races that were won in 2020, right? But there was so much damage done on the state legislature level. On this Friday, we'll be speaking with not representative anymore, but he's state senator, Chevron Jones from Florida. And we're going to be speaking about that specifically, about how do we turn the tide? How do we win back these state houses and the state Senate chambers in order to hold, and then the gubernatorial races, the governor seats? How do we win those back? Because we've seen the federal government has all but abdicated its responsibility to protect the American people from COVID-19, to hold the powerful accountable in the form of Donald Trump. When the federal level fails us, then we have to appeal to the state level. And I just think it's quite a bit of irony because it was the state level. It was the justification for continued discrimination, segregation, right? It was states' rights that we fought against in the form of Barry Goldwater. I read his book years ago, Conscience of the Conservative, and I'm reading his justification of why he opposed the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act. And he opposed it underneath the auspices of appealing to the state, right? The states' rights, the 10th Amendment, and whatever's not expressly written in the Constitution is relegated to the states. Well, now the tide has turned and the federal level has failed us, and they're giving Donald Trump, or not even just Donald Trump, just think about all the way across the board. It's not just Donald Trump. Think about the millionaires and the billionaires and the money that they have made over the course of this pandemic. And we cannot get rescue packages to the people, right? That is a failure of government. The fact that we have gotten maybe 2 checks. Some people haven't even got that second check yet, James. Some people didn't get the first check. You got families, in food lines. And I promise you, I do not know. Maybe you can help me. Maybe in the audience, you can help. I do not know how it is that the American people, forget about the state level, right? I'm expanding this conversation to the body politic. I'm expanding this conversation to we the people who literally give the government our consent to be governed. How is it that we have not collectively revoked that consent to be governed when they have failed us at every single stop? Not only are we dying from COVID-19, not only are people starving and hungry and homeless and losing their homes because they lost their jobs and this government has not stepped in like other governments, but now we have the most perverted example, the most perverse example of abuse of power, and we can't have any accountability. I want to bring up a story out of New Zealand. I want to show you what an effective government can do.
Yes, absolutely.
Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern said that the cabinet has decided that from 11:59 Sunday night, we'll move to alert level 3 for 3 days until midnight Wednesday. Now, a mother and a father and a daughter are the 3 new COVID-19 community cases in Auckland. The 3 new cases all belong to a single household. And yet New Zealand has taken the responsible action of locking down the capital just after 3 cases were detected.
3 cases.
My brother, we are at millions in this cases in this country. We are at approaching 500,000 deaths in this country. And we can't get people to wear masks, man. We can't get people to go ahead, man, because that thing
you speaking on it, brother. You were speaking on it. When I saw this story, I'm just like, from 3 cases, they shut down everything because of 3 cases. Can you imagine how we would be if we did that? But no, we're so freaking ignorant and stupid
And
that
selfish.
know instead and selfish that we're going to go out to the club and keep on partying. And millions and have over 500,000 deaths in the United States alone. Right. But yeah, here it is in New Zealand, 3. They shut down everything. Shout out to them because I wish we could do that.
Australia did the same thing.
Nice.
Like, I'm like, and New Zealand's had outside concerts over the last year. They've had concerts. Yeah. Like they've had regular holidays. Like they were able to go to the malls and shop for the holidays. Like, not that I care about consumerism at that level, but that's meaningful to some people. And so maybe that's the thing that help you understand. Like there are freedoms that are happening across the globe that we cannot participate because in the name of freedom, we've had half this country try to convince us that it is an infringement of our rights to be required to wear a mask. Meanwhile, that idiocy is leading to the deaths of hundreds. I often cite the movie V for Vendetta. I don't know if you see. Have you ever seen that? Remember. I love that movie. It was 80,000 deaths in that movie that triggered the protagonist's revolution. Because I mean, there was other things in the background, but that was like one of the main headlines: 80,000 deaths because of a virus that the government was not accountable for, and it was a full-blown revolution. Now, I'm not advocating for a revolution only because I got kids, for sure. Only because I got kids. But that said, we're at 500,000, which means, man, our reality in this country is more obscene and absurd than our fiction. In our fiction writing, we could not imagine 80,000 people dying without a full-blown revolution. And here's the reality: how life is stranger and just so much more depressing than fiction is that we're approaching 500,000 in this country alone. And we can't even hold the president of the United States, the former president of the United States, accountable for the first 475,000 of them. So anyway, let's do this. Let's take another quick break. When we come back after this break, we have a couple more stories that we're going to discuss. And then we're going to be joined by my brother from another mother, good friend of the show. Shout out to all the Dragon Squad in the chat room. I know you're there and I know you're coming in. Shout out to all of you. John Iadarola is going to be joining me at the 10 o'clock hour. And we will be right back with more Like It or Not.
Shout out to everybody that is in the chat room that is checking us out this morning. Thank you for joining and watching Like It or Not, y'all. Hope y'all are enjoying the show. Got more coming up, so make sure that you stay tuned.
Anything long as you get what you want, tryna play me like a fool, homie, I am not a clown. It ain't nothing but a game, cause all you do is mess around. Now I'm on the verge of a meltdown. I should've known when I met her back at Midtown, at Dogwood, when I was going through a rough patch, but it's all good. I even told about the dark times I had in childhood, when we were driving off of I-10 in Kirkwood. Now all that time I never get it back. You wanted that, used to hate when I didn't wanna hang. I noticed that, used to talking about your ex Jake with your next Jack, used to messing with them white boys, now she went black. Wait a minute, guess you went and got yourself a real life. Got yourself some booty shots and live villa. You just wanna make a rapper beat like Dilla. You ain't looking nice, radiators. Cause up close, baby, you a ghost. You a demon, and you should float. Get out the way, and just go. And just go, and just float. How you gonna lie when you looking in my eyes and you say you down for the cause, but you really here for the ride? You ain't really feeding no sheep. You're a K9 in disguise. Should've never gave you nothing but a funky high five. I know we can't go back in time, but I wish I could rewind and get back all that money that I spent every nickel and dime. Cause you alive. Oh, you up front. You gon' say anything.
Shout out to everybody that's checking us out. Courtney, good morning.
It ain't even been a month. I feel sorry
for you. I feel you. If y'all didn't know, there's some new music I got. I'm like, we don't like it or not, we gonna drop some new fire for y'all this morning. New fire.
Cause up close, baby, you a ghost. You a demon, and you should float. Get out the way, and just go. And just go, and just float. Float like a balloon, apple, empty bottle, cork, styrofoam, and most dead bodies. You killing me, homicide. Look at your lying eyes. I should have been better laced cause I failed too many times. If money's the root of evil and you call yourself a dime, you gotta be penny wise, you gotta be penny wise. You gotta be penny wise.
All right, we're gonna slow it down a little bit for y'all. See what y'all think about this track. I see y'all.
I'm not sure I understand it, but
this remind me of my Charlie Wilson music. Seems like something my mama listened to. So this was for you, mama.
I don't know why I feel this way, but every time I hear your name, all my worries disappear. Yeah, it's all because of you. I feel the way I do.
This is called "It's All Because of You" by Dayon featuring Matt Lloyd.
True, yeah. It's all because of you, because of you, because of you. And I don't fall in love so easily. Cause I don't
right, Brenda, I like this too. That little old school vibe to it.
Yeah. I don't know if you feel the same, but every time I hear your name, my worries disappear. It's all because of you, yeah. I feel the way I do. You make my dreams come true, yes you do. It's all because of you, because of you.
Shout out Mark Kosai, I see you. Shout out to everybody in the VIP room, y'all. Shout out to everybody that's in the chat rooms everywhere. Make sure that you hit that like button, subscribe, and comment so you always know when Like It or Not is going live, y'all. All right, our next song that we got coming up is definitely a bop, and this is definitely one that I have been listening to the last few days.
Tell him I need my money right now. Brought me the juice, they stole out my crown. Yeah. Sorry to tell you, I know my value. I'm gonna recoup, yeah. But don't waste my energy, my energy. I don't got much, don't be wasting all my energy.
Yeah, you know I do what I can.
Get close to me.
Shout out to everybody that's second and shout out. Make sure that you hit the like button, share, comment, and subscribe, y'all.
I thought yours was like mine, but let me find out. You've been going around throwing shots, running plots. Come on, man, tryna block my blessings, but no need for comparisons. What's from me won't be from me. Yeah, I'ma go through just to grow through. But pay me what you owe me for, I make what you've been saying about me true. Tell them I need my money right now.
Blizzard Fingers, that was Welcome to the Go-Go, and that was Major League Band. So make sure you can find them on Facebook. Major League Band on Facebook.
I'm gonna recoup, yeah. Don't
Yeah, Ben.
My loyalty. I let you in back then because I couldn't.
I know that you would like this song, and then there's another song I played earlier. I figured that you would like it.
You know me well, James.
I know, sir. I already know.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. I am excited to have my friend of the show, John Iadarola. He is an award-winning host of The Damage Report, The Young Turks, and a climate change docuseries, True North. John, thanks for joining me, man.
How's it going? I'm glad to be on.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Shout out to the Dragon Squad. I already know. I don't see the chat room, but I know once you're here, the Dragon Squad is going to be sending up a whole lot of love in the chat room. Listen, so. I'm going to be joining you tomorrow, and we just have so many. It's wild right now. Like this weekend, I really just want to get your feeling and your gut feeling on like how absurd it is for two things: for them not to call witnesses this weekend, but then also the fact that we just can't seem to hold powerful people accountable in this country. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess the silver lining on the second part is that at least we can't hold powerful people accountable for basically the same reasons we haven't been able to. Like just there aren't enough what tools have, whatever norms, whatever legal recourse we have, the Constitution, all of those are just as ill-fitted to the time as they were the first time he was impeached, or, you know, like we don't have the tools. And I don't know, maybe it's kind of good that we weren't able to convict him, because we don't want people are already predisposed to like sort of be lulled into a false sense of a return to normalcy with Biden. Trump actually being convicted might lead them to believe that there is something that is fundamentally changed in America when little actually has yet. We still have to do that. In terms of the witnesses, that was the thing that really bothered me the most, because I had been fully ready, as I'm sure you were, for Trump to get off. But the Dems decided, no, what we're going to do is we're going to tease you right before the end. We're going to make you think, oh my God, wait, are they actually going to do this thing that they definitely should have done from the very beginning? And with all the stuff that had come out with Kevin McCarthy and all that, oh my God, there might be an opening. And then they backed off. And then he was acquitted. So they found a way to do worse than I went in thinking they're going to fail like they always do. And they found a way to do worse than that.
It's good. And here's the thing, like, you know, the fact that it requires a supermajority, right, to hold the president of the United States accountable is a structural problem that everyone expected for Donald Trump to get off. It is the lack of due diligence that really underscores what you're saying there. You're saying that, you know, Democrats in a way found a way to even like underperform our low bar. Like we have a low bar in this country. The bar is basically, can we at least have the appearance of due diligence and due process and justice? And at this juncture, America is saying, or at least the leaders of this country are just simply saying no.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, in the Senate, at least, like it was one thing where it set up, like you're talking about sort of structural impediments to change. Like for anything to even have a chance of working, the Dems have to control basically everything. And to even get to that, they have to pass not only the additional levels of structural democratic inequality in terms of voter suppression and gerrymandering and all of that, but the fundamental baked in ones, like the fact that the Senate is fundamentally unrepresentative and provides a ton more unbought, unearned power to the Republicans. But even once we get past that, then, that was great. Great work there. Great work, all the activists working in states like Georgia and all that. You did a great job. But, also the filibuster. So now it's already difficult enough for the Democrats to get 51%. They have to earn like 60% of the vote to get 51% of the power, and 60% isn't enough. And the biggest insult, of course, is that while, of course, the Republicans don't want the Dems to get rid of the filibuster, which I get, it's Kristen Sinema, it's Joe Manchin, it's potentially Feinstein who are stopping them from getting rid of it. So those senators have agreed that if the Republicans win, the Republicans rule. If the Republicans lose, the Republicans rule. Nothing changes, which is terrible for most of America, but it's perfectly fine for the section of America that doesn't really need anything to change, that's doing perfectly fine. And they will apparently win no matter who wins the elections.
Right. And this is the absurdity of it all, right? So like, what are we supposed to do when every channel of power that we try to respect in order to accomplish our goals is disrespected, not only by our opposition, but even by some people? Like you said, Joe Manchin is one of the biggest impediments to progress in this country right now, especially because the Senate is so locked in 50-50. Like, what do we do at that juncture?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess we're supposed to make, like theoretically, we're supposed to make sure that the Democrats win the House and the Senate, which in many cases means we have to make sure that the Democrats win governor's races so they can appoint secretaries of state. So there's a little bit less voter suppression in some of these states. We probably also have to win the state legislatures to make sure that these states aren't passing, like insane anti-voting, like voter ID laws and stopping mail-in voting and stopping the ballot drops and all that. So we have to win all of those levels. We have to make sure, obviously, that we have a Democratic president, because a Republican president would veto everything. And then we also have to go back through all of those wins that we just had and weed out all of the Democrats that are really there to protect the same interests as the Republicans. So we have to go and we have to primary Sinema, and we have to primary Manchin, we have to get rid of Feinstein. And then we have to hope that after we do that, whoever, like Hickenlooper or some, like whoever will be the next wannabe Manchin won't suddenly pop up. I mean, we are assailed on all sides. And so that's a little bit depressing. And I know for some people, this is the last thing they want to be hearing, because they feel like, well, we just got past Trump. We just got past that dark period, and the Dems won the Senate. Look what happened in Georgia and all that. But the battle continues. It's almost like we're fighting in a democratic fractal. Like whenever you think you've won, it suddenly splinters off into smaller subversions of the battles you've already been waging.
Wow. Man, there's so many different ways I want to go with that, because that's actually a great, it's almost like we have fallen into a Pandora's box of chasing after an opportunity to do good in this country. And structurally, from the Constitution itself to the Senate, to the people who are in power currently, they are actively working against that progress. I want to play a clip. We've already played it this morning, of Lindsey Graham. And in this clip, he really he laments the idea of accountability, right? So he's looking all sad and depressed, like Lindsey Graham normally does, when he wants to pretend as if he's an empathetic human being instead of this narcissistic sociopath bootlicker that he is. But I digress. The point is that he's acting solemn, but he's also issuing a very direct threat, in my opinion, because he's letting it be known that if Republicans get power again, that they are going to, impeach Kamala Harris in regards to the January 6th incident, as if the people who went to Congress and raided the Capitol, as if they were actually like in league with Kamala versus in league with him. Let's take a look at that clip real quick.
The trial record was a complete joke, hearsay upon hearsay, and we've opened Pandora's box to future presidents. And if you use this model, I don't know how Kamala Harris doesn't get impeached if the Republicans take over the House, because she actually bailed out rioters, and one of the rioters went back to the streets and broke somebody's head open. So we've opened Pandora's box here, and I'm sad for the country.
So he's clearly conflating two incidents, right? He's clearly trying to muddy the waters so that people can identify which protest or which quote unquote riot he's talking about. But I also see a very thinly veiled threat here. What are your thoughts in terms of Lindsey Graham in general, but also the very reality that Republicans, they'll impeach Joe Biden or Kamala Harris if they sneeze without covering their faces.
Yeah. If it's veiled, it's a very thin veil indeed. That's not going to get you past, like, you can't veil something on Instagram and expect it to be allowed with that sort of veil. Yeah, and he's very sad, Ben. It's just so sad if this might happen to Kamala Harris, who, after all, was the villain of the 6th. I remember those chants. Sometimes I have nightmares. Hang Mike Pence. The K-Hive rules. I remember. And I think it's important that history remembers. No, I don't. Like, I'm not even a massive fan of Kamala Harris. I mean, I'm glad she's the vice president, but she wasn't my candidate in the primary or anything. Right. The idea that she was responsible, and he doesn't believe it. None of them believe it. One of the things it's not the biggest challenge that we face, but one of the things that makes facing that challenge so like dirty is that we are operating in a field of people that are fundamentally operating in bad faith, that everybody is lying about everything that they say. He's lying about what Kamala Harris did. He's lying about what he feels about what Kamala Harris did. Right. He's even lying about what the Republicans will do. The Republicans will and always were going to try to impeach for whatever BS made up reason if they feel they can get away with it. Marjorie Greene filed those papers to impeach Biden on the first day, and I defy her to explain why. I don't think that she can actually do it. And the Dems who will use the specter of things like them impeaching Kamala Harris to say, well, let's not do this because then we'll be setting a precedent that the Republicans will use. We'll be opening that door and the Republicans will walk through it. Republicans don't need open doors to pursue power or to pursue their interests. That's what they do. They know how to do that because they get that this is politics. This isn't fun times. The Democrats still think this is just fun times. And so I don't know if they're actually going to do that if they take power, but I do know that they're going to do whatever they want if they take power. And I wish that the Democrats would learn that lesson.
Absolutely, which brings me to the clip I saw this weekend of Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the House, saying that we need a strong Republican Party, as if the only option for our democracy is a two-party system, which is, to me, the problem itself. But the absurdity of it, right? For in the middle of this lack of being able to hold anybody accountable, pandemic, 500,000 people dead, and a good part of that is because of a strong Republican Party. Like, I don't even know how she thinks that the Republican Party isn't strong when they're literally holding America. I can't finish that sentence without getting in trouble. So they're holding America hostage. There we go. They're holding America hostage at every single turn, but yet and still Nancy Pelosi is like, we need a strong Republican Party. They're too strong. What did you think when you saw that clip?
Well, I mean, look, they're certainly strong in that they do whatever they can get away with, and they understand that they can get away with a lot. The Democrats operate entirely inside of not just the rules, which, of course, we want a democracy to have rules, and the norms, which don't actually exist anymore. That's become clear during the Trump times, but also this belief that they have to be fair and they always have to be bipartisan. It doesn't matter how many times they're punched in the face by the Republicans. They hem themselves in on all sides with these multiple layers of restrictions. And that leads a lot of people to believe that they're doing that not because they think they actually have to, but because it's convenient as a way to not have to actually accomplish anything. The Republicans are strong in pursuing what they want to do. Devil's advocate, might mean what we want is a serious other party. But when was the Republican Party that party? Okay, so you mean before QAnon, I assume, but what do you mean during the 90s when they pretended that Bill Clinton getting a blowjob was the worst thing the country had ever seen? Was it during the 80s when they just deregulated everything and gave endless sums of money to the rich? Of course, that's also what they did under George W. Bush and Trump. That's sort of consistent. Was it even earlier than that? I mean, the whole period of just explicit appeals to racist white Southerners. Which Republican Party do you want to be strong again? I guess they mean something like, well, Eisenhower had a couple of good points about the military-industrial complex. That was 1 billion years ago, and it bears no relationship to the Republican Party. I think what we need is a strong Democratic Party that will beat the Republicans into submission until they finally learn the lesson that they keep implying after elections they will, which is they need to actually provide some sort of responsible platform. That is something they haven't done in a very long time. And we can then disagree on it. We can disagree on some of the base facts that inform our politics, but we don't have that. We don't have that. And she should worry less about the party she's not in charge of and more about the party that she's supposed to be in charge of.
That's a hell of a sentence right there. I think we should close it right there. John Iadarola of The Damage Report. You can always check that out right here on YouTube and Facebook and basically anywhere, as well as the Young Turks. John, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you. As always. Love your work.
Pleasure. Oh, man, appreciate you. All right, folks, as we get ready to end this episode, I want to bring up the schedule for the rest of the week because we have an exciting week. Rebecca will be back on Wednesday joining us. Tomorrow, we're going to be joined by Ida Rodriguez, also of the TYT family. We're also going to be interviewing a couple of other guests throughout this week. And I want to just give you the lineup on Wednesday. We have Brooklyn Dad from Twitter, who's doing amazing work over there. We also have Bishop Talbot Swan, who is a leading voice in the fight against this evangelical movement. We also have Dr. Abdul El Said, who's going to join us on tomorrow. And then we have on Thursday, super excited to have Representative Ro Khanna, who will be joining us along with Professor Jared Ball of Morgan State University. On Friday, we have State Senator Chevron Jones and Rosa Clemente. She is going to be joining us specifically to talk about the new movie Judas and the Black Messiah. If we could bring that image up on the screen. I want to discuss it with her because she was a part of that project, and the movie is getting rave reviews. But more importantly than the movie and the reviews is the legacy and the story and the legacy of Fred Hampton, Chairman Fred Hampton. And so this biopic is powerful, but the life of Fred Hampton is what we want to remember. And if we have any of those clips available, I actually want to leave us this morning before I turn it over to you, James, to play us out of here and give the people some good music to go on. I want to leave you with a couple of words from from Chairman Fred Hampton. Take a listen to this first clip. And in these clips, you can see why he was a threat to this system and why it was that at 21 years old, this country snatched him away from us. Between the FBI and Chicago PD, snatched a young, vibrant, powerful, unbelievably brilliant, unbelievably just charismatic, but caring for the people. They snatched them away from us. We'll be having that discussion on Friday with Rosa Clemente. Take a look at this first clip of this powerful young brother that we had taken from us.
That's saying that no matter what color you are, there's only two classes. And that's saying there's a class over here and there's a class over there. And the reason that this class over here has never did anything to get this class off its back, because this is lower, this is upper. This is the oppressed, this is the oppressor, this is the exploited, this is the exploiter. And these people in this class have divided themselves. They say, I'm black and I hate white people. I'm white and I hate black people. I'm Latin American and I hate hillbillies. I'm hillbilly and I hate Indians. So we fight amongst each other.
There's actually more. Let's play the next clip, because this brother, I mean, he deserves everything that we can give him in honor of his legacy. Let's take a look at this next clip. No problem. The clip is loading up. And it's just, I'll filibuster for a couple of seconds, but there we go. All right.
We're not a racist organization because we understand that racism is an excuse used for capitalism. And we know that racism is a byproduct of capitalism.
Racism is a byproduct of capitalism. Now, before I toss it to the next one, I think we have one more. But James, this brother, 21 years old, with a robust analysis that, hell, I don't think I got until I was probably damn near 30, 35, right? Because the way our education system is set up is to ensure that type of thinking and that type of viewpoint of America is considered radical, but not the people who marched up the steps of the Capitol on January 6th. You know what I'm saying? So for us to speak about solidarity across class lines, across racial lines, and fighting against capitalism as it strangleholds us, and we see what's happening in this pandemic, is, the fact that we can't get checks is a direct line to the fact that they need us to go out there and risk our lives on behalf of their quarterly profit margins. They think this kind of language is radical, but not those racist white supremacists who marched up the steps of the Capitol on January 6th to overthrow the government because they lost an election. Take a look at this last and final clip.
He set up this problem in order to exploit me and other people like me. And why they want to get rid of me? Because I'm saying something that might wake up some other exploited people and some other oppressed people. And if all these people ever get together, then these pigs that are exploiting us, we'll be able to run them into the lake. That's why they want to get rid of us.
So anyway, that's what we'll be discussing on Friday with Rosa Clemente, and I'm so excited to have her back and to have all the guests that we have this week. Rebecca will be back on Wednesday. James, it's in your hands, man. Help the people feel a little bit better as they get ready to go through their day.
Yes, sir, Ben. And hey, shout out to you, Ben. When you get in your element and you talk about and do everything, bro, you make me a proud brother, man. Shout out to you, dude. Hey, man. You do this. Shout out to you, bro. I really appreciate that, man.
Love you, man. Appreciate you,
and
man.
Love you too,
shout
brother. Hey, have a good day today, brother. Shout out to everybody that joined us this morning for Like It or Not, yo. We got some big things coming up, y'all. Y'all need to make sure that y'all stay tuned and keep it locked. As we always do, y'all. Gonna ride y'all out with some music into the 10:30 hour. Got a few bops and a few jams to play for y'all this morning. So hope you sit back, relax, and enjoy, y'all. Shout out to the VIP room, y'all.
I never thought I'd be so empty, so alone and afraid.
Real 88. Sir, I like that. Drop those lions in the chat. Okay, I see what you did there.
Nobody understood where I've been. I guess I thought I needed more time to protect my love from potential offense. So I then you came around and you, but I shut it down. So you and I'm not surprised by what I found, 'cause I know I needed something different and it had to be you. Out the blue, somebody who listened and it had to be you. Out of all the people to reply, my love couldn't be just anyone. But baby, it had to be you. I didn't seem to notice that you were checking for me. We were just friends, but we started building trust and my fragile heart started to mend.
Maniac, yes sir, she is. She will be back on Wednesday. Rebecca back in the building on Wednesday, y'all.
Should've paid attention.
That's right, so Lion, Like It or Not. Lion, you get it? Play on words. Yeah.
But I needed time to see clearly, dig deep and cut through the noise. So I, then you came around and you, but I, so you.
Does sound a little bit like Brandy. And then somebody said Summer Walker a little bit. Yes, I agree, definitely.
Something different and it had to be you. Out the blue, somebody who listened and it had to be you. Out of all the people to reply, my love couldn't be just anyone. But baby, it had to be you, you.
Throw it in the air, sucker, throw it for the damn suckers. Throw it, show it. Just throw it in the air, so throw it for the damn suckers. Throw it.
Brenda Johnson, I appreciate that.
It's your boy, I know you got jump. 뻔해주니까 닫아두려 했던 closed door. Shuttle 제껴 진짜 너를 보여줘. Throw yourself in the air. Tell me, 숨들이 제일 쓸려가는 중에 내감이 너와 같이 휩쓸리길 원해. Nope, this ain't no wave. Nope, this ain't no happy hour. Let's surf around shit. Nope, this ain't 어디 벽에 잠깐 빠졌던 shit. This ain't 잠시 머물러도 떠났던 shit. 난 돌아갈 곳이 없어 이건 real life shit. 그냥 졸라 특이한 새끼에서 A-list shit. This is hit the rock bottom then come back up shit. 이런 나도 괜찮다면 레고 성 잡고 같이 가져. No betrayal 심장 talk. I think you let it for my real supporters. All your wait is over. 넌 최고가 어울려. 작은 만큼 누려 누구 top 5는 할 때 내 이름을 쏟아 지워가며 약해질 거서 이제 고개 들어. Yeah, break it back for you. 돌려줄게 김대 각 for you. 대웅이의 back에서 right to the top for you. 센스 형의 사랑 나눠줄게. I got love for you. 응원 들을 때야 나게 딱 보여.
Shout out to everybody. Hey, make sure that you hit that like button, y'all. Hit that like button. Hit that like button. Hit that like button. Make sure that you comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff, so you always know when Like It or Not is going down, y'all. Shout out to everybody that's in the building still checking us out.
오늘도 바로 깨어난 듯해는 태아에서 이런 힘 이런 젊음 이런 배열의 숨 한 번도 느껴본 적 없어 진짜 내 안에서 항상 꿈틀대던 그 놈이 깨어났어 Everything looks so hard but now it's so easy Do it in the air Sitting over this while we're ready Do it for your real supporters.
They ain't gotta like it, they just gotta live with it. Got my money working, you know what I did with it. Take it to the field, treat it like a coin toss. Girl, I got it covered, I'm a Louis loincloth. But he ain't really with the gang, that's a fact. Had baby doing something strange for the snap. Ride around the county with her face in my lap. Keep it 101, this ain't the place for the cap. I ain't got the minutes for the who said what. Piling up the digits on a goose egg hunt. About to take a quarter to the ball cap later. Texting Goofy double, I need all.
And I almost forgot, if you want to tip your DJ, that's me, DJ Exclusive, you can by going to Cash App or Venmo and entering DJ X3C. DJ X3C on Cash App or Venmo, y'all. You want to tip your DJ.
Stack it up and scale it up and flip it up. I step it, baby, I don't trip it up.
And also, if you don't have Cash App or Venmo, you can also go to PayPal, DJExclusive@gmail.com, y'all.
Count it out and seal it up and ship it up. High stepping, baby, I don't trip it up. I been living high, let me bask in it. Shorty on a juice cleanse, getting thick. Tally up the tokens, let me ball for the winner. Squad with me, I'ma fit them all in a sprinter. Up late, looking for the scalp trade setup. Only two types, either fed or you fed up. Limit line, front of coast with a potion. Calculate the risk, I don't move with emotion. How you felt, bet it is what it is. Insurance plan, leave a meal for the kids. Truth in the blood, got G's in the family. First seen 100 by the peas in the pantry. Pounding on the pudding and I'm hopping in a ship. They know that I can't get it popping off the rip. Business over brunch and it came with mimosas. All about the bread, so I came with the toaster. 40 on me while they do me.
Shout out, Ed. If I'm lying, I'm dying, squad. Okay, I see what you did there.
Flip it up and flip it up. High stepping, baby, I don't trip it up. Hundreds on me, letting up me workload. Still been getting to it when the work slow. Count it out and seal it up and ship it up. High stepping, baby, I don't trip it up.
Tell him I need my money right now.
Okay, this is probably like my favorite track now.
Sorry to tell you, I know my value. I'm gonna recoup it, but don't waste my energy, my energy. I don't got much, don't be wasting all my energy. I keep it tight, don't let nobody get close to me. My heart is right, don't question my integrity, no. I thought we would be just fine, and I thought your heart was like mine, but let me find out you've been going.
That's right, Courtney. All new music today.
Come on, man, tryna block my blessings.
Angela, what's going on?
What's from me won't be from me. Yeah, I'ma go through just to grow through. But pay me what you owe me for, I make what you've been saying about me true, true. Tell them I need my money right now. Brought me the juice, they stole out my crown. Yeah. Sorry to tell you, I know my value. I'm gonna recoup it. Don't waste my loyalty, my loyalty. I let you in back then because I couldn't see, but now it's clear you ain't ever been true to me. My intuition ain't ever lied, I had to leave. Handle your business, do what you think you need to do to get your revenge. But you won't break me, God as my witness. Past the point of no return, I'm on a mission. Tryna block my blessings, but no need for comparisons. What's from me?
Cindy D, what's going on?
Yeah, I'ma go through just to grow through. But
pay me what you owe me for, I make what you've been saying about me true. True. Tell him I need my money right now. Rob me the jewels, they stole out my crown. Sorry to tell you, I know my value. I'm gonna recoup, yeah. Don't waste my.
Never understand the things that we want. Why do you keep coming back? I want love you don't. No. So why are you here? Yeah.
Purple Rain, Heart Sweet, appreciate you. Have a good day.
Take it back so that you don't know where my heart is at. Don't want you to know. My love is lost. Oh. Well, there's only one thing left to do. My heart is breaking, wanting you. So I'll say goodbye. Let's put the sun back in the sky.
Okay, this might be a block too though.
And don't call me back, just say I'll say goodbye. Yeah, don't call me back, just say goodbye. I can change the past, don't wanna complicate things. Maybe if I asked, was any of it real? Was it real? There's only one thing left to do. My heart is breaking on you. So I'll say goodbye. Let's put the sun back in the sky. Tired of crying, don't call me back, just say I'll say goodbye. Tired of crying, don't call me.
Shut up, Mar, I feel you. They are.
There's only one thing. Let's put the sun back in the sky. Tired of crying, don't call me back, just say I'll say goodbye. Yeah, I'll say goodbye. Don't call me back, just say goodbye. Let's put the sun back in the sky. Tired of crying, don't call me back, just say I'll say goodbye. Tired of crying, don't call me back, just say goodbye. Cool down, my love, cool down.
That was Just Say Goodbye by Spring Gang.
Yeah.
Spring Gang came through again with We Got Chemistry.
It's hard to keep up with your passion. So cool down, my love, cool down, my love.
And a heart, I appreciate that.
Sometimes I wanna give all of me. Sometimes I wanna scream, oh my God, you got me in so much trouble now. Sometimes I just wanna tell you to stop, so you don't go and break my heart. I'm so confused, babe, I just don't know. So now I gotta make up my mind. Do I wanna leave it all behind? I can't let you go so easily, 'cause baby we got chemistry, chemistry. We got something special, but you
Jimmy Neutron, you all right, brother? Okay.
Count the loot, call the troops coming through from the booth to the moon. That's the root. What it do? It's the same as a
Make sure that y'all are hitting that like button, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff, so you know when Like It or Not it's going live, y'all. Had a damn good show today.
Never trust again if you
Shout out to John.
Heard you got that bag, well I must have a hefty guy.
Me and Chris for joining us this morning.
Call up the troops. We coming through. We coming through. Count up the loot. Call up the troops. We coming through. We coming through. Stacking my chips with the dip. I jump like a running back, my hit. This is never fake, this is not pretend. I was always like this, just a white boy from the ends. Yeah. What I drive is not a rental. No, I had a long day, so she gave me dental. 2 phone numbers, no phones on me. I can't trust nobody but my own.
All right, everybody, that is going to do it for your boy James Williams, better known as DJ Exclusive, y'all. We hope that you enjoyed the very first episode of Like It or Not. It was definitely a fun one. Shout out to all our guests that came in today. We definitely appreciate you, and we hope to have you again soon. Make sure that you hit the like button, comment, share, and subscribe so you know when Like It or Not is going down. And make sure that you are here tomorrow. We have Ida Rodriguez and Dr. Abdul El Saeed that'll be here joining us on the show tomorrow. Full week coming up, y'all. Again, we love you. Thank you again. Lion Squad, appreciate the thing. Hey, I had to coin that. That's not too bad at all. Anyway, we'll see y'all in the morning, y'all. Peace out. Like It or Not, it's gone.